Hello everyone, welcome to the next edition of the LSA webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Yelp for Agencies, What You Need to Know, and will be presented by John and Melanie from Yelp. I just want to let everyone know that the webinar will be recorded and we will have a replay of it within 48 hours. You can view that under Insights, Webinars, and then there's a past webinar archive link that you can see all of our past webinars, but that'll be posted there. We'll also be sending a follow-up to registrants with a link to a recap and the recording. Just one quick announcement. Last week we had our very first Locology event. This is kind of an advanced digital marketing event focused on local, driving local actions, local consumer visits, that kind of thing. And we had our first one in New York last week. It was a great event, a lot of great feedback, a lot of agencies. And I just want to let everyone know that the next event will be in Seattle, November 9th, and it's going to be at Microsoft's spot in Microsoft's offices on their campus. To learn more, you can go to www.lsalocology.com. And just for a sense of the speakers that will be there, there's Google, Facebook, MailChimp, Microsoft, GatherUp, Moz, Local SEO Guide. And then the topics covered the range of kind of local marketing issues from local SEO, SEM, reputation, social, email, etc. So definitely something to check out. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass it over to John.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar. My name is John Carroll. I'm a Senior Manager of Business Outreach here at Yelp, and I'm joined by Melanie.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining. I'm a Channel Sales Manager here, and I will be talking about Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program later in this presentation.
And one thing I want to make sure that you're familiar with the GoToWebinar control panel is that chat box. We love to get audiences engaged and participating, and we'll probably be asking you some questions throughout the presentation. So if you have questions throughout, or you want to respond to one of our questions, feel free to use that chat box, and let's kick it off. So when we talk about Yelp, I think, and when you communicate the value of Yelp to your clients and to business owners who you're working with, who are working with Yelp, there are really a few things that we want to tackle. And the first is that 5-star state of mind. And I'll get into that in a little bit here and exactly what that means. And kind of over the course of this presentation, we're going to really tackle, what does it mean to be a 5-star business? How do you get 5 stars, and how do you kind of achieve that 5-star state of mind, and how do you help your clients achieve that 5-star state of mind? And then Melanie is going to be chatting more about how Yelp specifically works with agencies in ways that you can empower your clients and the ways that you can succeed on Yelp, and then further what agencies are doing to actually be successful on Yelp with some case studies and some learnings that we've had over our time. So fundamentally, it's really great to start at the beginning and start with, what is the core goal of Yelp? And really that's to connect consumers with great local businesses. And we really pride ourselves on providing authentic connections, right? We're crowdsourcing these reviews. We're getting kind of this aggregate wisdom of the crowd type of view into a business and into your clients. And we're able to make that recommendation and introduce consumers to businesses that they might not otherwise interface with or otherwise interact with, and help them discover that business. And we do that in a few ways, and one of the primary ones is that Yelp is a very local platform. If you're on Yelp, if you're searching for a business then and there, you're typically pulling out your phone. 82% of our traffic is coming from mobile users, and you're looking for a business in your immediate area. So the local aspect and optimizing for location level search is really important there. And then also the way that we've continued to evolve our service offerings and the products and kind of the transactional nature of Yelp. And the way that we are servicing great local businesses to consumers. So when it comes to your clients, we're really helping businesses that have great reputations and who have distinguished themselves based on customer service stand out from the crowd. When it comes to just the size and scale of Yelp, why does this matter? Yelp is attracting over 100 million monthly unique visitors on mobile on average. And I think the mobile component of Yelp is really, really important when communicating value to folks. And the second part is that Yelp is a community, right? We have over 100 million users, and when you think about this user, this is somebody who is, research-oriented, discerning, looking for the best, is a savvy shopper who wants to make sure that their dollars are going kind of as far as they possibly can. So when you're thinking about this audience, you're thinking about this community of individuals who are all centrally, I guess, bought into the idea of shopping local and looking for a great local business. And for your clients, it's one of the most valuable aspects of Yelp, is that they're not necessarily competing across, e-commerce or online retailers only. They're also really tapping into that local economy and that person who's passionate about local business. I think one of the other things when we think about Yelp is that Yelp is not only, or to be a Yelper does not necessarily only mean that you are using Yelp or that you're only tapping into Yelp via our app and mobile devices, which has really been one of the most popular ways that consumers are using it. In fact, now, next year we'll be shipping 35 million devices that will have Yelp preloaded into it, and that gives us really great market penetration when it comes to consumers looking for local businesses. When it comes to finding a local business, Yelp is really the name in the game, if you will. And it's just become extremely ubiquitous. We're integrated into over 75% of devices in the market. And we see with our partnerships with companies like AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint that is only going to grow, and that our data and the reviews that consumers are finding on Yelp is only going to become increasingly proliferated. And I think going even beyond Yelp, it's important to realize that a lot of the impressions that we're getting on Yelp and a lot of the impressions that businesses are getting in the reviews and the content is not just being seen natively on the app or desktop site or the mobile site. It's also because of the way that it's being integrated into partners. So as far as other local search tools, Yelp data is being pulled into Bing, it's being pulled into Yahoo. We're integrated into Apple, so if you ask Siri or you go to Apple Maps and you're looking for a local business, you're going to come across that Yelp data there. Of course, we have our more hardware integrations with vehicles and things like that, but across the board, really our goal is to make sure that Yelp data, which consumers find incredibly helpful, is always at their disposal. And something that might surprise you is that Yelp is not only a site that is for restaurants. It's actually one of the biggest misconceptions I think we come across is that people just go to Yelp to look for food. And while Yelp actually started as a restaurant site, really there's no category that a consumer can directly interact with that we are not servicing. And in fact, our most reviewed category on the platform is shopping, and restaurants is second, and then third, I think it's always worth calling out, is home and local services. So if you have clients who are really trying to figure out, what are kind of untapped opportunities for me or for my business in some of these categories, Yelp is a great opportunity to kind of educate them on. So now that we know that Yelp is, obviously a platform for kind of locally minded, empowered consumers who are there to do research but also to transact, let's talk about that 5-star state of mind and really what it means to kind of be a, I guess, 5-star business and orient your entire operation or have your clients orient their entire operations towards getting 5 stars. And it really starts with a simple premise, and it's, every business wants to achieve a great reputation online, and every business can with the right mentality. And one of the most important factors when it comes to achieving a great online reputation is actually customer service. And a recent study that we did internally of our review content showed that if a review mentions good customer service or great customer service, it's actually 15 times more likely that that review is 5 stars as opposed to 1 star. So when we talk about, and over the course of this webinar, as we talk about kind of orienting yourself in this 5-star state of mind, what that really means is helping your clients understand that if they want to have a great reputation and they want to, really thrive, it starts with focusing on their customer and providing customers the best possible experience that they can. So as I mentioned, we're definitely going to be, using that audience participation. So I want to ask you, as an audience, when is the last time you personally used reviews to make a decision. Give people a couple minutes here to respond. All right, so it looks like, I mean, some people have used it as recently as like this morning, which I think is a great thing. Hopefully we're finding a great coffee shop. But for me, this is a kind of personal anecdote that's maybe a little bit embarrassing, that I think will give you a little bit of insight to who I am. I use reviews all the time, and even this past week, I was looking for ice cube trays on Amazon, and let me tell you, I got real deep on some ice cube tray research, like 25 minutes plus, including watching multiple videos about ice cube trays, ultimately to choose one that was the Amazon choice and Amazon recommended. And, you know, frankly, they arrived and I've been happy with them. And it's because as a consumer, I'm going to review sites to make informed decisions. I want to go there and I'm utilizing reviews so that I can tap into, you know, that collective experience of other consumers like me, and make sure that when I'm investing my money or spending my money on something, you know, I'm not kind of throwing it away, that I'm making a smart investment, I'm making a smart decision for myself. And now consumers are creating, you know, taking really small kind of low context decisions and turning them into, you know, really largely research-oriented processes and really research-oriented experiences. So even now it's, you know, you're using Food Network and you're finding their reviews, and, you know, even bloggers are having reviews pulled into their recipes. You don't go to a movie without checking Rotten Tomatoes. You don't download an app without, you know, going to the App Store. And part of the reason that reviews have become so popular is because, you know, we all know that more often than not, a business can say whatever they want about themselves, but what they're delivering is not necessarily always up to that par, up to standard. So that gap, you know, is measured in the reviews that you're reading. You know, if the business is saying we have the world's best, you know, pizza, and you go and it's actually pretty mediocre, I bet you those online reviews are going to reflect that other consumers have had that same experience. So when you're communicating to your clients about the importance of review sites and how consumers are using it, you know, they're using it to make sure that they are going to get what they expect. And they're doing it at the very end of their sales funnel and at the very end of their sales cycle, just before they're pulling the trigger. They've already decided, you know, I want to cook dinner tonight, I need ice cube trays, I'm going to a movie. It's simply, where am I going to go? And those reviews are helping inform that process. And this really great piece came out in Forbes the other day, and you know, I promise I had no hand in coming up with this title, but it said that online reviews are the best thing that ever happened to small businesses. And I think they pulled out some really great insights throughout this article, and over the next, you know, little bit, I'm gonna quote it a few times. But one of the first things it mentions that about 90% of global sales still happen in physical stores, but 97% of consumers use the internet to find a local business. So you can imagine that kind of the days of just, you know, wandering around or wandering into a store or pulling out the old, you know, yellow book and looking for a local business has kind of fallen by the wayside, right? Consumers, you know, view their time as valuable. They're making calculated decisions based on the businesses that they're going to be patrons of and that they are transacting with. And they want to make sure that if they're walking somewhere, that they're going somewhere, getting in their car, that is time well spent. So even if somebody's showing up in store, it's pretty fair to assume that they're also doing their research online before. I always joke, you know, I'm that person who, when I travel, even if a business looks great on the outside, I'm probably pulling out my phone and looking it up online on Yelp first, just to make sure that, you know, it's going to be worth my time. And that step is almost like that insurance policy for me. So regardless of if you are, you know, have that like a large e-commerce strategy and you really pride and you work with clients who really pride themselves on that in-store experience, you know, there has to be a marriage between the two from a brand perspective. Like that you know, Yelp page should be representative and evocative of what I can expect when I actually show up in person. Another great stat from this post is that 3 in 4 people who use their smartphone to search for something nearby end up visiting a local business that day. And I think even more telling is that if somebody's searching for food or beverage or kind of anything within that restaurant or food category, if they're searching on their phone, 64% of those searches are converting either immediately or within the hour. And I think this Ellie's Pancake House review really highlights that. This user was on a work trip and wanted to spend some quality time with their wife. She was starving, and they found this business on Yelp, and they were there in the next 10 minutes. And that is what we're really seeing, is that it's pretty much looking it up and then direct to visit. And for clients, it's a really valuable experience because, again, this consumer is at the end of that sales funnel, and they're there primed to transact. It's simply, are they going to go with one of your clients, or are they going to go with another business in the area? Another thing that I love about this is that the way that they frame Yelp relative to other types of advertising, right? Because Yelp is really a supplemental channel for businesses that fits into an overall marketing mix for your clients. So if traditional advertising is a megaphone that enables businesses to shout and see who's listening, review sites are tractor beams that pull consumers towards local businesses precisely when they're actively looking to spend money. And I think this just really elegantly reinforces kind of everything that we've been saying up until this point. Traditional advertising puts you out there, and that's really important for building that awareness. But when it comes down to the time to transact and that last moment of making the decision, when all the research has been done and people are simply deciding, where am I going to go, review sites are what is really empowering those feet through the door. So let's level set for a second, ask ourselves an honest question here. Do your clients embrace customer feedback? And I mean, truly, really, like, are they tuned into, and do they have their fingers on the pulse of the feedback they're receiving? And more importantly, are they acting on it? And as we think about that, let's think about kind of removing the silos from this experience, because a lot of times what we find when we work with businesses, and I'm sure you've experienced this working with clients, is that people tend to silo activities. I got this positive comment card, or I got this great email, I got this complaint online, this person came up face-to-face. And from a consumer perspective, there's almost no barriers, or there's no difference between those channels. It's really what's more native to you or what you're more comfortable with. And as a business, when we silo them, we actually tend to create different parameters for engagement around each of those silos. And I don't know if you've experienced that with your clients in the past, but oftentimes that can actually lead to different customer service experiences depending on the channel that somebody is using. I always think of, back a few years ago when Twitter was really on the rise, people used to say, if you really want a company to pay attention to you, tweet at it. Or post to their Facebook account, take it to a kind of public square setting and leverage social. And from a consumer perspective, there really should be no difference in, the face-to-face experience versus the online experience. And, I always like to use the example, if you heard somebody talking about one of your clients, or, you were working with a client and they heard somebody talking about them in the real world, would you instruct them to engage in that conversation? Like, would you yourself, if you heard somebody talking about your agency or about your business, would you engage in that conversation? Would you hear them out? Would you dive in? Would you learn more? And hopefully the answer to that is yes, right? And that conversation, whether or not it's happening in the real world or if it's happening online, should, I guess, receive the same level of engagement. Just because it's a different channel doesn't mean it's any less impactful or any less important from a consumer perspective or from a business perspective. And I think one of my favorite things to highlight with Yelp is that it's a site that exists to be overwhelmingly positive, right? It's a site that connects consumers with great local businesses. So in turn, it's a site where the consumer is celebrating great local businesses. And there are actually more 5-star reviews on Yelp than there are 1, 2, and 3-star reviews combined. So this 48% is 5-star, and then the 20% is 4-star, and then 9% 3-star, and so on. But really, what we find is that most of the reviews on the site are positive. And if you do get a negative review, that negative review actually provides a lot of insight into the operations. And it can provide really valuable feedback for your clients. So as we're kind of thinking about and mulling over the question, are we truly embracing feedback? What are the ways that we're taking these reviews and what are the ways that we're thinking about them? And the best kind of next step that you can take and that you can instruct your team to take and your clients to take is to actively listen and join the conversation so that you can gain consumer trust and so that you can stand out. Because here's the thing, in a world where we silo all of these engagements and where we have, people managing pages for other people and kind of instructing them and things like that, oftentimes that engagement component is lacking. Only 1 out of 9 reviews on Yelp or consumers who write a review on Yelp actually get a response from a business owner, but 6 out of 10 expect it. So by working with your clients to make sure that they're engaging with this platform and that they are responding to reviews, you're creating a space and a way that they're going to stand out, that their commitment to customer service, that 5-star state of mind that they've started orienting themselves towards is really going to translate well to their online presence as well. So the first step is to work towards setting goals for customer service excellence. So maybe that's printing your reviews out and reading them in your staff meetings. Maybe that is reducing the number of overall complaints, or maybe that's setting up systems that you can create additional ways to measure and dive into what is going on within the business. But either way, you want to make sure that you are setting goals for excellence so that you have something to work towards and something to measure against. You want to use your reviews and identify trends and themes across your reviews. So as I mentioned before, most of the reviews on Yelp are positive. Over 80% of them are 3 stars or above. So if you do have negative reviews, you really want to dive into the insights that those are providing. I always say that your negative reviews are kind of like your canary in the coal mine. Right? If you think about Yelp as a site and you think about all the traffic we get, we already know that over 100 million people are coming to Yelp every single month through mobile. And we have just over 160 million reviews since we were founded in 2004. So obviously not every single person who is using Yelp regularly is writing reviews, or you'd expect that we'd have a lot more reviews on the platform. So when you look at a negative review, you can kind of wrap your head around the idea that if one person is saying this, then that probably means that a bunch of people thought it but never took the time to write it down. And one of my favorite books ever is Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer. And I think one of the most impactful quotes in that book is that, it's not the 1-star reviewers that ultimately are detrimental to a business. It is the people who walk away saying, I would never go back, right? The 1-star reviewers love you enough to tell you why they hate you. So that 1-star review actually has a lot of really rich insight in it that you can use to inform and grow, right? Because great businesses are made with small incremental changes, not broad sweeping shifts. So when you're looking at these trends and these themes across your reviews, look at price and value. Is that something that you're seeing a lot? Is that something that's marked as a positive or as a negative? Look at your food and beverage offerings. Like, how are people receiving that? What's your level of service? How are the facilities and amenities being reviewed? What's the general experience that people are kind of the overall thought there? And then looking at if you offer pickup and delivery, if your clients offer pickup and delivery, how is that changing and impacting their reviews or their star rating? Like, what did those reviews trend as opposed to other reviews on the site? So these are really important ways to kind of break it out and gain insights, and you can track these specifically. You can always search a review on Yelp or search within review content to pick up common phrases. You can look at the details of your review distribution to see how you've been trending for the past couple months for your clients, and this is always a really important way to just kind of measure your success on a platform like this. The next part of reviews is not simply getting them, it's not simply gleaning insights from them, but it's engaging with them, right? As we were saying before, be in that minority who actually responds and engages with these reviewers. And when it comes to positive reviews, a lot of times we find that people prioritize responding to the negative reviews and tend to have the positive reviews fall by the wayside. What I personally recommend is responding to all of your reviews, and I always say start with a public comment because you get credit for a public comment. A public comment lives on your page beneath a review, and not only you are viewing it, but the person on your page after you is viewing it. So with a positive review, if you have something to add, post a public comment. If you have nothing to add, stick to direct message, but you should always have something to add. The reason I say that is because a Yelp user is taking some time out of their day to write a really nice, thoughtful, personal review for your business, and in turn they're probably shrinking your marketing dollars just a little bit. They're whispering in the ear of your potential customers that this is or that of your clients' potential customers that this business is the real deal. You want to instruct your clients to make sure that they're responding to these reviews, and they should always have something to add. I like coming up with a pretty straightforward formula for the business. Start with a thank you. Pull something out of that review that you can touch on and kind of be overjoyed with. Then maybe you find another product or offering to talk about and mention. If you really liked our bruschetta, then you would really love our arancini. And then closing it with a thank you. And every single review that you should get should have a response to it. If you want to go the canned response route, that's when you use the direct message because you don't want it to look like you have a canned response to every single review on your page. The next thing is amplifying the positivity. So with your Yelp reviews, you actually have the ability to embed those in your website. So you can take that code and embed it right there. You can also share it to Facebook and Twitter. So this is a great way to leverage the authority of a site that really cares about or that consumers have a lot of trust in, and leverage that across other platforms that consumers might not be thinking about discovering one of your clients' businesses on. And then when it comes to critical review response, this is also extremely important. And one of the things that I want to emphasize with critical review response is timeliness is key. If you respond to a negative review within 24 hours of that review being posted, it is 33% more likely that that consumer will actually take the time to upgrade their review. And regardless of whether or not the critical review brings up a legitimate concern, has some inaccuracies in it, or is an unhelpful rant or rave, I always recommend moving forward with a public comment on that review. And the reason I say that is, again, for the same reason I say start with a public comment with a positive review, is your business gets credit for it, or your client's business gets credit for it. And a great kind of tidbit here to instruct your clients with is, regardless of how they want to respond, they should always be taking the high road, right? They never want to get in a point-for-point debate with the consumer or with the reviewer. They always want to be appreciative for the review because, again, this is insight into operational deficiency or operational opportunities. They, want to address the concerns if it makes sense. They want to address the inaccuracies and offer clarity, or they want to, simply say, just thank you so much. I hope you have better luck finding, the right business to fit your needs, and that is completely okay. At the end of the day, when you post that review response there, you are highlighting, if you would address this issue in person, face-to-face, you're then able to translate that online and demonstrate that, even on the worst day, your client is going to have, every consumer's back and always put the customer service level of their business first. So kind of the short and sweet 3 points here that you can communicate and pass on are take a minute before you respond. You do truly have a, fight or flight surge of adrenaline when you get a negative review or when they're getting a negative review. So if you're coaching them through it, definitely be a little bit empathetic. But tell them to take a minute, walk away from it, come back, and when they come back and they start crafting that response, take the high road there, And then take comfort in the fact that, the reason that there are so many great local businesses out there is because not one business can make every consumer happy 100% of the time. So it's really important that, you kind of take it with a grain of salt and you aren't paying attention to the overly anecdotal criticisms or things that are coming out there, but paying attention to the themes and what is a recurring theme within your reviews, and you work to improve those across the operation. So just an example of this kind of in action, if you will. This is a review for a heating and air conditioning business, and the initial review was actually done by a tenant, and the landlord had called Alltemp, and they were supposed to come out, and then there were some miscommunications, and it ended up working out that the system just was not functioning. So they wrote a 1-star review for this business. And actually, pretty much the very day that person posted the review, that this heating and air conditioning business reached out and laid out their plan to make it right, sent a tech the next morning, sent a tech the following day to do some final tune-ups and tweaks, and lo and behold, 4 additional stars later, they get a 5-star review, and it's because, they addressed the criticism, they made it right, and they put the customer in the first. And that's really one of the most important things that you can communicate to your client, is whenever there is a 1-star review, think about even experiences that you've had where you've had to call the manager over, you've had to wait with a 1-800 number to talk to a customer service rep. There is some gap in what you were expecting and what was delivered, and there is always an opportunity to fill that gap. So the next thing is, don't interfere with the natural flow of reviews. You want to inspire great reviews organically. And I think this just really ties back to, don't ask for reviews and don't instruct your clients to ask for reviews. Reviews really should be something that, they're doing such a good job that their client is inspired to leave that review, and that, the business is simply, having signage up that says, find us on Yelp, check us out on Yelp, has the button on their website, maybe it's in their email signature, but they're never interfering with or upsetting that natural flow of reviews. So don't post reviews of your business or for other businesses. You want to make sure that you're not offering freebies or discounts, or that your clients aren't offering freebies or discounts or payment in exchange for a review, because that actually turns that review into an advertisement. If they're receiving payment for it, and if that's not disclosed to consumers, that's misleading advertising. So you want to make sure your clients aren't doing that. Don't work with companies or third-party vendors that offer to fix your reviews or offer to fix reviews on behalf of your clients. Your clients shouldn't be asking anyone to write reviews for their business, including friends, family, and customers. Again, the most valuable part of Yelp is the Yelp community, and we want to make sure that those reviews are coming from the community. And then don't pressure or pay/sue, we've seen it happen, people into altering or removing critical reviews. Instead, the better option is to respond to those reviews and address them with a public comment. And if you want to take that conversation offline or further, send a direct message and set up a time to take the conversation offline too. So I think another great way is, as I was mentioning before, really highlighting that Yelp is important to your business. Rather than ask for the review at the end, substantiate the claim that Yelp is important throughout the experience, right? When they're walking through one of your clients' stores, they see the Find Us on Yelp sticker. When they go to their website, they see, a Yelp button. Maybe it's on their sandwich board. Maybe they have a check-in offer and they can see, that, and Yelp is reminding them, hey, you checked into this business and redeemed that great offer, write them a review. These are all ways that you can help coach your clients to make sure that they are not interfering with that natural flow of reviews. And Yelp really has your back on that, right? We are also reminding our consumers and our users to write reviews for the business, so there's definitely no reason that they would have to take that extra step there. As far as the best practices with Yelp, you want to make sure that you're claiming all the locations, completing each profile, which means, setting up relevant categories in the website, et cetera, for each of your clients. Add high-quality photos to grab the attention of consumers. Don't attempt to interfere with the natural flow of reviews. You do want to respond to those reviews authentically and make sure it's within 24 hours, and then explore paid options to boost leads and customers. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie.
All right. So for any of you who joined a little bit later, I am Melanie Ricotta, and I am part of the channel partner team here in New York City. I'm really excited to talk to you all about how Yelp works with agencies, as well as marketing partners, as well as technology partners, otherwise resellers. And also a special shout out to some of our current partners attending the webinar today. So over the next 15 minutes, I will be covering how Yelp now partners with agencies and resellers through the Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program, the unique benefits and resources provided through the Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program, and just overall how agencies and resellers and their customers can be successful on Yelp. Afterwards, we should have a couple of minutes. John and I, as well as Drew Kniff, our VP of Channel Partnerships, will be available for a Q&A session. So until earlier this year, there really hasn't been an easy way for agencies or resellers representing multiple clients to work strategically and efficiently with Yelp. So for example, if you were advertising or managing listings for multiple accounts, you most likely would have had multiple contacts at Yelp. Also, there was not a streamlined way to manage multiple accounts through the Yelp dashboard. Overall, Yelp recognizes the value of partnering with agencies and resellers, therefore officially launched the Yelp Partner Team and the Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program, which now gives agencies and resellers the ability to sell and manage Yelp ad campaigns on behalf of their clients. One of the main things here is, and as I mentioned on the last slide, is that you may have had multiple contacts when working with Yelp if you're managing multiple accounts. Through the Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program, agency partners and resellers can now receive personalized support and offer their clients increased campaign management from account planning, proposals, reporting, and even performance evaluation. The Yelp Channel Partner Team, the team that I'm a part of, is a new team within Yelp, and we're totally dedicated to managing Yelp Ads certified agencies and the resellers. And we're really here every day to help our agencies and resellers identify the right opportunities for all of your clients to be successful. The Yelp Channel Partner Team will provide everything from Yelp training and education to sales support, and as mentioned, proposal building as well. The Yelp Ads Certified Partner has access to upcoming events and trainings. We had an event here at the Yelp headquarters in New York a couple months ago. We'll probably have a few coming up next year in Chicago and San Francisco, as well as Scottsdale, Arizona. So for anyone on the call today, look out for those. And then in addition to that, we're sharing Yelp news and then also product rollouts to our Yelp partners as well. So one of my favorite things is definitely having the right campaign tools in place. And so a little background about myself is I've worked with a number of agencies and companies over the years, managing their search campaigns and also managing their partners with Google, Yahoo, and Bing, to name a few. And there's nothing more frustrating, and I'm sure some of you on the call can relate, having separate logins for each engine and then additional logins on top of your account for all the other locations that you're managing. So now there's even more options between Instagram and LinkedIn. So really prior to the launch of the partner program, Yelp did not have a streamlined or efficient way for all of you to manage multiple accounts and performance. So through the program, we are providing agencies and resellers with the ability to self-serve multiple accounts through a centralized dashboard. Through the centralized dashboard, you can create, customize, and manage Yelp listings and Yelp ad campaigns for all of your clients. We're providing tracking capabilities, analytics, campaign customization to help you and your team really just make the best decisions to increase ROI on behalf of your clients. In an upcoming slide, I'll provide a screenshot of the dashboard. And then lastly, before moving on, the Yelp Ad Certified Partner Program is month to month. It's not a one-year commitment, and the programs, in addition, have promotions and discounts as well. All right, so now that you know Yelp offers a partner program to support agencies and resellers, let's dive more into some tips and tricks to help you and your customers to succeed. Claiming. So this is, you do not need to be a certified partner to claim a listing on behalf of your client. Really the first step to helping your clients to becoming more successful on Yelp is to claim their business listing page. And you can see that we just have a red square around where the business Flatiron building is unclaimed. So you can just go ahead, you can work with your client, you can claim that page, and then you have the ability on behalf of your client to update the business information and add photos, which is really important in the first step, because adding photos is going to get 12 times more customer leads than businesses without photos. So centralization, as mentioned, is key, and one of my favorite things about the program is that once you have officially become a Yelp Ads certified partner, you have access to the centralized dashboard, which is allowing you, similar to other platforms, to monitor the activity of listings and ad campaigns for multiple clients. You also have access to unique tools such as ad planning tools, and you can review responses and pull performance reports. And then take note on the side here, you'll see client number 1, client number 2, client number 3. So you can add as many clients that you wish to that are part of your ad campaign, and then toggle between these different accounts so that way you can narrow in on specific performance by location or by account. And then we have some of the key performance indicators really based on whatever the goals are of your customers, but everything from Yelp advertising clicks to cost per click, ad spend, etc. We're constantly making updates to this dashboard, so take a look at the screenshot now. I'm sure things will probably look a little bit different in the next coming months, but we'll be releasing those updates to our partners in the near future. And then lastly, for anyone on the call that is responsible, or if your team is responsible for managing reviews and reputation for your clients, you can directly through this dashboard manage that as well. Customization is key. It's probably why many of your clients are working with you, and Yelp's product team is definitely all about customization as well for Yelp users and businesses. And the product team is constantly adding features that emphasize personalization. As a partner and as a user, we recently launched a couple months ago the ability to customize your ads. And so through the dashboard, as I mentioned, you can create these campaigns and customize ads, as you can see on the slide here. You can select different snippets. You can also select different photos. So for example, if your business recently had some really great photos added, or someone came into their restaurant or their med spa, or they used the service and left a rating review, take that snippet, add it to the custom ad, and see your click-through rate start to increase. As for reporting and insights, we definitely want to provide you with the right tools so that way you can at any time be able to pull some stats and have an idea of how your campaigns could potentially perform on Yelp. So we have the Ad Planner tool, which is a sales planning tool, allowing you to input and receive real-time data on Yelp opportunities for your customers, such as CPC and budget estimation. Your Yelp partner team can always provide you with additional custom insights, because as I mentioned, we have a team of people here that I'm part of that are constantly helping our agencies put proposals together and incorporate some of these custom ads that I was talking about earlier. But this ad planning tool is really, if you're on the go, access to metrics to build campaign proposals out if you need them very quickly. So I'm having a little issue seeing some of the questions, but I'm still going to go ahead and ask. But how many of you were surprised to see that when John showed the slide of the percentage of reviews by category, that shopping outweighed restaurants, and in addition to that, home services was in the top 3? So I'll assume some of you are thinking about that question, even though I can't see the questions. But for me, I was. Early on working at Yelp. And so it's really important that we are educating you and that you're able to educate your clients, understanding that Yelp's not just a restaurant review site, and there's a lot of opportunity to be had. And then even diving a little bit deeper is that, we recognize that for our partners and our customers to truly be successful on Yelp, they also need to be fully educated and trained on the areas of opportunity and best practices for responding to reviews, as John was able to cover earlier on. The Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program provides access to industry-specific collateral, case studies, training sessions as well for your team and customers, And that's something that I'm doing with my agency partners. It's something with my team is doing, is that on a constant basis, we're conducting some of these different training sessions. In fact, to be eligible for the Yelp Ads Certified Partner Program, there's some basic training and a certification test that's required, but I'll touch a little bit more on how to become a partner towards the end of the presentation. Shifting gears just a little bit is that data tells the story, and if there's anything that personally gets me excited, it is data, and Yelp has a ton of it. And this is key for us when we're working with our agencies and our partners on really being able to tell the right story, and this is one of the ways that we can tell the strongest story. There are hundreds of industry-specific search categories which provide valuable data on vertical trends, seasonality, user growth, demographics, and certain actions that occur as a result of the behavior on Yelp. So we can also provide valuable business search trends, similar to rumble boxing shown here. And personally, as I said, I've been surprised by some of the trends. I mean, there's some obvious ones as we get close to tax season and the holidays, but we can even get as specific as knowing that ramen noodle restaurants see a spike in visitors and search volume from November to December. So just think about that as you're thinking about some of your very specific or maybe even niche clients. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate another example of the power of data with Yelp. And this is an example of the map of DC area. All right, and so these black dots you see are actually Yelp searches of people looking specifically for salads or wraps over a 1 week period. All the healthy people living in DC searching for their salads and wraps. And these blue pins are actually chopped locations. And then I would say take a look here and compare them to the density of the searches for the wraps and the salads. Okay, and now you probably see some of these red dots appearing. They're kind of intertwined with the blue and then also where the search density is. And so what these red pins actually indicate are that actions led to a chopped location. So for example, if a person did a search and then viewed Chop's business page on Yelp, and then they either pulled it up on a map, they did directions, maybe placed a phone call, or clicked their call to action button, which by the way, hint, always have a call to action button on your client's page. But this is really cool because you can see that this is where they're taking action and these locations are conveniently placed. But then if you look at it a little bit differently, is that these red boxes are searches that are happening where there's not a chopped location. And then if you didn't see it, 3 little green dots or there or pins are just showed up. And so what those are showing you are competitors identified by chopped. So this is data that gets me really excited. I hope it gets you excited as well. But what CHOP can do with this data is that they can leverage the search and location data to make informed decisions, such as identifying opportunities to add locations or just helping them to understand who they're competing with in each of the markets they serve, and basically taking a look at that so they can better position and brand their offering. So all this data is great and gets me excited, and hopefully you as well. But you may find yourself asking, how did this lead to any change in behavior? While we have really good indicators to track and measure, such as customer actions, and those include maps and directions, phone calls, and there's other different actions that we're tracking, we're also working on the best possible ways to service clients and provide in-store attribution metrics through our work with partners like Place, and are exploring different ways to do so. More coming maybe in the next couple months, but at least wanted to make sure that you guys know that this is something as a high priority for Yelp at this point. All right, so I think we have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to start to wrap things up in case there's questions. But to summarize, again, how our partners are really making the most out of Yelp is helping their clients to claim those pages, enhancing the content, really understanding how to advise clients to engage with Yelpers when responding to reviews, working closely with their Yelp team to learn and get the best results for their clients. And then lastly, really taking advantage of our month-to-month flexibility, personal ad programs, and really driving business and leads. And then, again, just highlighting some of these tools that we talked about for agencies and partners is that, really self-serving these ads, custom proposals, really key there, the reporting, and then also always good to mention that we have tons of case studies representing an array of different customers. All right, so if you or your team have any questions about the Yelp Ad Certified Partner Program, or if you want to learn how you can become a partner, please contact us at the email address that you see here, which is agencysupport@yelp.com. And then for any of our current partners on the call today, thank you so much again for joining. I will end here on one of our quotes from our current partner, Lighthouse Graphics, who we've been working with, and really put a great quote out there. So I'll let you guys take a look at that and read it.
Okay, great. Thank you, John and Melanie, for conducting today's webinar, and thanks everyone for attending. Like I said, a lot of great questions, and we'll be following this up with a recording and a replay of the webinar, so look for that in within 48 hours. So thanks everyone, and have a great day.